Kingdom of the North. Shadows come. This story is not an ordinary story. It is a story of a war. A war between darkness and light, where darkness overcomes light, where trickery wins over honesty. So, you should look for the light of hope. In the old days, a king named Philip ruled the northern lands. Philip was a wise king, and he made a good life for the people of his territory. The people also respected their king. Although Philip had the love and affection of his people, he always felt empty, because he didn't have a child. He was worried about the future of his country. Not having an heir made a number of ministers suggest to the king to choose his niece Hotspur as the crown prince. Hotspur was the only child of Philip's sister, who along with his parents he lived in a corner until his parents were killed in a war. According to Hotspur, King Philip was to blame for this because he did not let his parents live in the capital. He promised himself that one day he would take revenge on Philip. Hotspur was only 16 years old, but he had a lot of ambition. Finally, the promised day arrived and King Philip, at the insistence of the court officials, invited Hotspur to come to the capital to hand over the government to him if necessary. Hotspur took advantage of the opportunity, and befriended a number of cunning officials. A year passed and everything was going according to Hotspur's wishes until God gave King Philip a child. Philip named his son Hector, and organized a celebration throughout the country. He gave the people to rejoice for 7 days. Hector was a very beautiful boy with golden hair. Yes, Hector was the light that had to fight against the darkness. Hotspur was very sad to hear this news, denying that the world had fallen on him. When he saw that his position is being lost, he consulted with one of the court officials named Arbel, and asked for a solution. Arbel introduced a person to Hotspur who knows about all matters, and can help Hotspur. Hotspur, who wanted to get the position anyway, he regained his composure, and moved towards Sisyphus mountain to see this person. In this mountain, there lived a mystic who, whenever people had problems, they went to him, to find a solution. A mystic was said to be someone who knew about future events and had little magical power. Hotspur spent many days to see the mystic. He was on his way until he reached his place of residence. He saw a dilapidated hut in front of him as if no one had lived there for several years. He was a little disappointed and muttered until suddenly a harsh voice came from the darkness, and said to him, "Why did you come to my mountain? Aren't you interested in being alive that you came here?" Hotspur, who was very scared, stuttered, and with the same he explained his situation to the confessor. There was silence for a few minutes until the fortune teller said, "Okay, I will help you to become the king of the northern kingdom, but there is a condition." Hotspur, who was full of ambition, immediately said, "I will do anything." The seer smiled and was happy that Hotspur was so easily trapped. The seer said to Hotspur, "King Philip has a silver key that is everywhere. He takes it with him. That key belongs to my father. Bring the key to me, and I will show you the solution to get the kingdom." Hotspur, who was blinded by getting the position of the king, did not understand the main intention of the prophet and went towards the palace, moved. Do you know why the confessor wanted this key? Well, let me tell you the story. During the time of King Philip's father, King Frederick, the evil forces became powerful. These demons were harassing the man of the northern kingdom. Morgar, the malevolent and powerful spirit, commanded these forces. Morgar was so powerful that no army could stand against him. His goal was to dominate the northern lands and kill King Frederick. Morgar gathered all his forces in a place called Endeavon to attack the northern lands. Andal Wizard was serving the king of Frederick. He suggested the king to make a silver key and a sword to arrest the Morgar. The king of the harmonious friendship was the ability to build such a key and sword. After the king's fantastic construction, he became easy to help Morgar and his forces. With the war began and Morgar took his forces towards the northern lands, until he became facing the Frederick's army. Every soldier who faced Morgar had no ability to fight, and fear took over his whole being. Until King Frederick himself went to the field to destroy this evil force. Frederick bravely fought Morgar. When Andal saw the king busy with the battle, and went to his aid, and with his help they managed to capture Morgar. Frederick should have thanked his wizard who offered the key and the sword of the elves. After the end of the war, and the victory of the human army, on the evil forces of Andal, he went to King Frederick, and said that as long as this silver key is in front of you, Morgar cannot be ousted from the lock and his evil force will be under control. One of Morgar's soldiers who was wounded and lying nearby hears this conversation. Yes, you guessed it right. This person was the prophet who will trick Hotspur in the future to get the silver key. Without knowing these events, Hotspur happily returned to the palace and began to draw a plan to steal the key from King Philip. One day, when Philip was tired of taking care of the affairs of the country, Hotspur went to him, and suggested that they go hunting for rest and fun. The king agreed and some of his companions went to the hunting ground. Philip and Hotspur were going a little ahead of the companions. Suddenly, a bear attacks these two people, and King Philip is wounded. Hotspur seizes this opportunity, and takes off the king's clothes, and sees the silver key in front of him. When he put the key in his pocket, he called his companions to come to the king's aid. After King Philip recovered, they returned to the palace and Hotspur made an excuse to get out of the palace. King Philip, who had complete trust in his niece, gave permission. Hotspur quickly moved to Mount Sisyphus. The north was cold and snowy. Hotspur braved the cold to achieve his greater goal of taking the throne from Philip. The seer watched Hotspur come from the top of the hill with a smile on his face, a smile that showed liberation. The master's freedom from bondage. The master who, if freed, would endanger the lives of all humans. Yes, Morgr is coming, so the shadows are coming.